Hi, welcome to English 100. I'm Kimberly Escamilla and your professor for this short course for English 100 at College of San Mateo. So today I just want to go over a little bit about the course and talk a little bit about the summary diagnostic you're going to do. Give you some suggestions for reading annotation and then review some thesis statements and TEEA paragraphs, so kind of reminders about how to organize your paragraphs. So I wanted to first talk a little bit about the work cycle that you'll be doing, and these slides are going to be available for you all separate from the video online, but the cycle we'll go through is this online discussion that we'll start with, and we'll do normally kind of a way for you to figure out what you know about a topic and watch some videos and kind of connect that to what we learn. Then you're going to be doing a lot of reading and annotation, taking notes and rereading. Then you'll review a prompt, kind of start making a claim, gather evidence, and then take the reading quiz. And then you'll write a draft, maybe do peer review, revise, edit, and then go, if you can, to the Writing Center if that's available to you, or if not, work with each other and with me. And then review my comments, and then we'll and make those changes, work on some skills, and then we'll go to the next unit. Sometimes those things will overlap, so just so you know. Some things you can do right now to get started: review the syllabus and schedule, and really spend some time looking at your calendar so that you can schedule in times for being online, for reading, and for writing your essays. You will also have access to the Writing Center. I've put a link here on this slide for you that gives the website for the Writing Center. So you can see writing tutors, make appointments, and also if I give you tutorials which are in the shell, but you can also go there to do them as well if you want hands-on help. I know a lot of you are out of town, but some of you might be local and can do that. You can start reading the unit. There's like a little written unit within the shell called Lecture of Summary and Paraphrase, and that's going to be for your diagnostic writing. That's a very small percentage of your grade, and then we'll start the reading and writing for the full essay. The first text we're reading is Claude Steele's Whistling Vivaldi. We're going to read the first 3 chapters. In this book, I find it interesting because it's a mix. It's storytelling, but it also has his research and kind of his discoveries as he went through several, 25 years of research. He's worked at Stanford and Columbia and a variety of major universities, but I find the book really readable and interesting, and it applies to lots of different groups. A couple of small, I would say, suggestions for when we're online. We don't get to see each other in person, and we don't have that ability to hear tone of voice and other things. So we want to make sure when you're online that we're able to talk to each other and feel comfortable. And I really want you to feel comfortable. If you feel offended, someone makes a mistake and says something that doesn't feel quite right, that we really spend time calling in instead of calling out someone. We really talk about, wow, that was kind of hurtful, or that didn't feel good, or I can do that on your behalf if another student does that makes you feel uncomfortable. So please feel free to contact me at any time about any of that, especially if I do something that doesn't feel right to you, or if another classmate does. Some examples of this would be here. So instead of, you don't understand because you aren't, a woman or black or gay, you can say, that statement hurt me and made me feel angry. Instead of saying you're wrong, say, a better way to say it could be this. So try to use some alternative phrasing as you go through, and see if you can come up with more constructive ways to communicate. Some of the recent news some of the things that have been in the news are going to come up in our topics. And so some questions that I have come up with that I've been thinking about and that are listed here have really informed the essay prompts you'll be writing about. So looking at stereotypes and how they have such power for students and how they might impact you. The ways in which you look at the American dream, and if you see and understand how that connects to issues of slavery. Also, is there really a war on cops, or is there really, what's really going on with use of force and police brutality? And then looking at why high school students are particularly susceptible to stereotypes and stereotype threat, and kind of analyzing that a little bit. You might recognize some of these and take a look at some of these cards that are held up that assumptions people make, stereotypes that people make that we'll be looking at. Here are some stereotypes that you might see a lot of and that you might experience. So you might notice in the shell where it's going to say summary and paraphrase. I wanted to distinguish between the two of those and then have you and model it for you. And you'll notice that there's a model in there under the lecture, and then have you then do it yourself. So then you're going to watch this TED Talk that's posted there on the site by Tasneem Chopra, and you're going to write a summary of her TED Talk. And then you're going to give it to me, and I'm going to give you some feedback. My goals for this, and I'll have a prompt there available for you, but is to see how well you're able to pick out the main ideas of her talk, which isn't exactly easy. It's not completely obvious, but so you have to spend some time really looking at it. And then looking at sort of your writing skills, and it'll help me kind of gauge those two things, and then enable me to give you a lot of feedback. And then it also gives us some time to start the reading and whistling Vivaldi. So while you're reading, it's super important that you do some active reading. And so you want to be able to trace your thinking and questions. It saves some time, and it'll also help you build knowledge bridges between what you know and what sort of figuring out what holes you have in your knowledge. We all have holes in our knowledge, and so we have to kind of decide what we need to learn and what we already know and build upon that. So what it might look like, you might do a double entry journal where you have quotes from the text on the left side of your paper, and the right side, your thoughts, your explanations, comparisons to things you already know on the right. Another way is just to write your notes directly in the textbook. Some of you will do this where you will use different colors like highlighters and different annotations in the margins. You might put question marks, circle words you don't know, and look them up. You might put other sort of explanations or references in there for yourself. Another way is Post-it. Some of you are borrowing books from the library, or you might have a version that you want to sell back, and so then try to use some way like this where you can mark your pages and have all your notes without necessarily writing in the book. Okay, so now we're going to transition a little bit to thesis statements. Thesis statements for this class should be sort of review. You should have practiced them already, but I like to kind of talk about them a little bit and remind you of some things. There's typically 3 types of thesis statements or claims you're going to make in an essay, and one of them is claim of policy, and then claim of value and claim of fact. And I've defined them each here, but basically a claim of policy is normally asking for an action, that you think something should happen, people should change their mind about something, they should do something or vote a particular way. It includes normally a should statement. It feels very persuasive. Claim of value is really arguing in some sort of comparison that something is better or worse, or stronger or weaker, or more or less valuable. And then the claim of fact directly argues that something is true, and so much so that it sounds like a fact, the way it's stated, even though it's arguable. Here's some examples. I've given 3 examples. You'll see the highlighted should statement, more statement, and the one that is claim of fact. The thesis statement, here's a little thesis statement exercise. If you take a look at these 2, you might review them and ask yourself which kinds of claims are these. Are they fact, policy, or value? And these have to do with stereotypes and stereotype threat, which we're going to be talking about. And then the second part I wanted to review is for your body paragraphs. You want to be thinking about how you develop them, and it's really important that you have a strategy. So one strategy that works pretty well, I think, are called TEEA paragraphs. So they start with a topic sentence and then move to explanation. They have some evidence, and I put a note here that this evidence could then be repeated if you have more than one piece. And then some analysis. And so more detail about that. The topic sentence, there's a definition that it's a sentence at the beginning of the paragraph that makes the main point for the whole paragraph. So this keeps you from wandering off topic. After that will be some explanation, which could be a sentence or two, explaining the point, the main point in the topic sentence. Your evidence after that could either be a quote, a paraphrase, or an example that helps like give support or evidence to make sure that you're proving that topic sentence. And finally, your analysis is a sentence or two that says something and makes the reader understand the connection between that evidence and the topic sentence. And so you might see transition phrases that go into the analysis that say things like therefore or as a result, and it kind of shows the connection between the evidence and the topic sentence. I've made one here from a former student's paper breaking down a topic sentence explanation. I've put one that has two pieces of evidence with some analysis in there using our topic we're going to be dealing with after the first 3 chapters. So this one might be helpful for you to return to after you've read the first 3 chapters to see you know, it as an example of a body paragraph. Okay, so in the next lecture, we're going to talk a little bit about how to choose evidence and cite it, and I'm going to also talk a little bit about whistling Vivaldi and just see how you guys are doing with it. If you have other questions, please, please, please let me know, and I am going to be on campus this Tuesday night from 5:30 to 6:30, or I think 5 to 6, 5 to 6. I can alter those times a little bit, but from 5 to 6 to answer any questions, help you get online, and show you how to navigate the site a little bit. I really look forward to working with you, and again, contact me if anything comes up. Thanks.